immediately antecedent condition for, succeeding, forms of themselves, they are called mental faculty, manandriya. If there were nothing but mental consciousness prior to and subsequent to the five consciousnesses, the Yogacarabhimi, Sastra, ought to say that this single consciousness is the similar and immediately antecedent condition for those, subsequent, six consciousnesses. Or, it should say that these, present, consciousnesses are the similar and immediately antecedent conditions for that, succeeding, single, mental, consciousness. Since this is not so, we know that the first, five consciousnesses form a continuous series, without the conditioning presence of mental consciousness.
When the five consciousnesses are born, mental consciousness must exist so that it can attract a subsequent moment of mental consciousness and make it appear, so why imagine that the five consciousnesses are its initiating and guiding support? In mindless states, sleep, and fainting, etc., mental consciousness ceases, and, when it appears again, the store consciousness and manas must be its initiating and guiding support, since they always continue in a series. If mental consciousness has as its initiating and guiding support its own prior state, why not admit the same regarding the five consciousnesses? If the latter is not so, how can the former be?
When manas associated with the knowledge of sameness, samajnana, appears for the first time, it necessarily results from the sixth, mental consciousness. It must, therefore, have mental consciousness as its initiating and guiding support. Also, the sixth and seventh consciousnesses must precede perfect mirror knowledge, associated with the purified eighth consciousness, before it can appear. Also, mind as retribution is supported by defiled manas, seventh consciousness. Otherwise, in bodhisattvas, it is associated with a good mind supported by vows of compassion.
This being the case, it must be admitted that the eighth consciousness has the sixth and seventh consciousnesses as its initiating and guiding support, and consequently the above argument, by Nanda, is not completely acceptable. We must say that the five consciousnesses, of I, etc., have as their initiating and guiding support any among the first six consciousnesses in accordance with their functions. The sixth, mental consciousness, uses its own previous species or the seventh and eighth as its initiating and guiding support. The seventh, manas, has either its own previous species or the sixth consciousness as its initiating and guiding support. Adana consciousness has as its initiating and guiding support its own previous species and the sixth and seventh consciousnesses. None of this conflicts with reason, for reasons given earlier.
Dharmapala is of the opinion that the above argument is not correct. Initiating and guiding support refers to dharmas that have objects, that act as sovereigns, and that can act as similar and immediately antecedent conditions. That is an initiating and guiding support that initiates, attracts, and guides so that the subsequent consciousness and mental activities are born. It is restricted to just mind and does not include mental activities. If the previous moment of mind does not occur simultaneously with that subsequent moment, we can say that the former has the power of initiating and guiding the latter. Since in one individual the sight consciousnesses occur simultaneously, how can a different species act as the initiating and guiding support? If you admit that it is a support, then different consciousnesses must not appear simultaneously, and different minds are not born together.
Also, several consciousnesses appear simultaneously in a single individual, in various numbers, with nothing definite as to number, and if you allow them to act as similar and immediately antecedent conditions for each other, the same would occur with form, etc. This contradicts the holy teaching that says that only mind and mental activities are similar and immediately antecedent conditions. However, as for the statement in the Mahayana Samgraha to the effect that form may act as a similar and immediately antecedent condition, that is said rather indulgently and as a precaution. That is, it says this for the sake of argument, conceding the small vehicle doctrine that form is the similar and immediately antecedent condition of mind in order to forestall an argument that the former moment is a condition as cause. Otherwise, the statement in that treatise is taken at face value, the prefix sam, similar, in Samanantara would be pointless. If you say that the prefix sam has nothing to do with quantity but only concerns similar kinds, then you contradict your own thesis that consciousnesses of different kinds are similar and immediately antecedent conditions for each other.
Therefore, catch of the 8 forms of consciousness is the initiating and guiding support for its own kind only. This agrees profoundly with teachings and reason, because dharmas of the same kind never occur simultaneously. Mental activities are also this kind of support for the same reasons as given for consciousness. Even though mind and mental activities are of different kinds, they are born together, are mutually associated, combine like a unity, arise and cease simultaneously, and must be alike in their activity, and when one initiates and guides, the others do likewise. Therefore, mental activities unfold as similar and immediately antecedent conditions for each other, but this is not the case with various forms of consciousness, so mental activities should not be used as a model.
However, mental activities are not initiating and guiding supports for the reason that they are not sovereign with respect to that which is to be attracted and generated. Moreover, if mind and mental activities are similar and immediately antecedent conditions for only their own species, then when the 7th and 8th consciousnesses first undergo transmutation of the support, this condition will be lacking for such mental activities as associated faith. This would contradict the holy teaching that mind and mental activities are generated by 4 conditions, including the similar and immediately antecedent condition.
Furthermore, even though mental consciousness ceases in mindless states, sleep, fainting, etc., when it reappears, its initiating and guiding support is its own former species. The same is true of the 5 material consciousnesses that have stopped, because immediately antecedent means that there is no break in the same species of consciousness in the interval. The reason is that when it has perished, it has already become the initiating and guiding support for the present consciousness. Why take the trouble to make a different kind of consciousness the initiating and guiding support?
However, when holy teachings say that the first 6 consciousnesses attract and gencrate each other, or that the 7th and 8th consciousnesses are born with the 6th and 7th as supports, this is said with reference to the special dominant condition, not with respect to the similar and immediately antecedent condition. Hence there is no disagreement. The Yogacarabhimi, Sastra, says, if various consciousnesses are born immediately after this present moment of consciousness, the latter is their similar and immediately antecedent condition. Also, when it says that these 6 consciousnesses are the similar and immediately antecedent condition of those later 6 consciousnesses and are called mental organ, the words are general, but the intention is specific, and there is no contradiction. Therefore, the support of a specific consciousness is its own prior kind, and this conforms closely to teachings and reason.
Having examined other treatises, we must return now to the right one. Even though this transforming consciousness, the manas, has 3 supports, still, Vasubandhu's verse refers only to the first 2 when it says that it evolves supported by that, because it tries to show that the support and object of this consciousness are the same, because the first 2 supports have the predominant functions, or because the initiating and guiding support is easy to comprehend. 5. The object of manas.